Less than 5,000 copies of this game exist worldwide. Released in 2019 by Bonus XP and sold through limited run games, Stranger Things has since become one of the most expensive platinum trophies you can unlock. When Netflix decided to step into the gaming space and pull all digital versions of the game from stores that weren't their own, instantly turning all physical copies of this already limited release game into a super rare collector's item. But no sane person would actually spend over $500 to platinum one of the worst games ever made. Yeah, I accidentally bought a sealed copy of Stranger Things. With a total of 32 trophies, our story kicks off in a secret military base as Soviet scientists are attempting to force open a gate to the Upside Down. Oh my god, did I actually spend $500 on a game without voice actors? All of this happened in the show, they could have just yoinked the voices. However, the mission is a total flop and all the scientists explode, leaving the remaining Russians no choice but to start again from scratch. Now 12 months later, the real game begins as Mike and Lucas are trying to get into a movie, but the line is way too long to bother, so instead we make our way downstairs to Scoops Ahoy and search for Steve, who apparently has a spare key to the back rooms. But when we get there, we find the key is mysteriously gone missing, so we'd need to help old mate search for his keys before making our way into the back rooms. But if we want to make it to the cinema, we would first need to find a way to get the elevator running again. Unlucky for us, a weird bloke named Ivan will help us get the power back on in exchange for helping him with his rat problem. Yeah, I won't lie, for a $500 game, this combat's pretty ass. It's still early though, it might get sick, hopefully. Probably not though, let's be honest. I'm just trying to make myself feel better for spending so much money on a dog shit game. And with the job now done, it was finally time to go watch that movie. But out of nowhere, the power completely cuts out and we missed the movie anyway. Welcome to Hawkins, that's the first trophy. Got that shit for beating a rat with a stick. Hell yeah. And speaking of trophies, if we want to unlock the 2 gnome collecting trophies, we would first need to collect all 50 gnomes scattered around the entire game. And we can find our first gnome in Will's home hiding behind his D&D table. That's 1 down, 49 more of these little pricks to go. Pretty sure some of them are actually kind of hard as well, so I'm not looking forward to that shit at all. So with the tutorial now out the way, it was time to get into the meat of Stranger Things, as we are tasked with our first 2 quests of the game. Our first 2 actual missions. We gotta talk to Mike's mum at the pool, then we have to surprise Dustin. We got that easy. So we make our way over to Hawkins' swimming pool, where we catch Karen secretly making plans with Max's older brother Billy. But before we can even process what just happened, Mike's mum ropes us into running errands for her, as she needs shampoo for a special occasion happening later that night. But just as we're about to leave, Billy chimes in as well, as he wants us to swing by the mall to grab him a pretzel. But unlucky for Billy, the pretzel guy just so happened to drop a nice fresh batch of pretzels on the floor. So we pick up Karen's shampoo and the most crusty sand-covered pretzel we can find and head back to the pool, where we are rewarded with a whole $5 of pocket change. But the fetch quests aren't over just yet, as Mike's mum's friend wants us to head back on over to the shops to pick up a hairdryer for her. And to top it off, the other lifeguard bullies us into buying him a milkshake. But because we have connections at Scoops Ahoy, Robin helps us cook up a laxative-filled shake for old mate Chet back at the pools. Yeah, we totally killed Chet. To be fair, he did have it coming, so that's kind of on him. And that's Susan's hairdryer handed in. I'm pretty sure this should be another trophy. Yeah, there it is. Shake things up. That's for completing our first ever side quest. And speaking of completing side quests, you should complete the side quest for clicking that subscribe button right now, because I'm currently platinuming every single Spider-Man game, and if we reach 10,000 subs before I finish the first 4 games, I'm gonna 100% not only the longest Spider-Man, but also the most expensive Spider-Man games that both don't have platinum trophies, but only if you subscribe. Now tasked with surprising our boy Dustin, we quickly hoon on over to his house, and just in time as the whole gang is already here ready to surprise the bloke. There we go, our boys on the team. That's 1 time at space camp. So with Dustin now in our party, he asks for our help setting up a gadget he's been working on, hoping it will let him make contact with someone he met at camp. And all the bloke is missing is some tin foil, duct tape, and an umbrella. There's the tape. That's the last part we need. Now if we tape all this junk together, we should get another trophy. Yeah, there it is. Crafted things. That's for crafting our first ever item. And it's just some taped up junk. So with the final part now crafted, we make our way up to Weathertop, where Dustin has been building a way to contact his girlfriend Susie. But the machine has been completely trashed, so we need to search the area for all the missing parts. The only issue is we aren't the only ones out here, as a group of suspicious Russians have also taken over the woods. I don't remember season 3 too well, but there's no way they had these kids fighting Russians with fart spray and slingshots, did they? And there's the third part. All it cost was hundreds of lives lost. At least Dustin can talk to his girlfriend, I guess. From love to Russia, that's for completing the mission Radar Love. But it looks like something strange might be brewing all across Hawkins. As while we were working on fixing the radio, old mate Billy was run off the road by a bunch of mutated rats. But that sounds like a Billy problem, so we're gonna make our way back to Mike's basement instead, where Will is still just waiting around to play some Dungeons and Dragons. But that lame shit is gonna have to wait, as we first need to speak to Steve about the secret Russian messages we intercepted back in the woods. But when we get to Scoop, Steve is absolutely useless, so Robin agrees to help us out instead. The only issue is Robin doesn't actually know how to speak Russian, so if we want any chance at decoding these suspicious messages, we'll need to break into Hawkins' library and swipe a book that can help us translate the audio we intercepted. But on our way, we are stopped by a bloke named Joey, who runs the local hardware store, and he needs our help taking care of some ugly ass looking rats that have completely taken over his shop. So in exchange for some pocket money, we make our way out back to deal with his rat problem, only to find these rats might have more to worry about than a couple of kids with sticks. That wasn't too bad. It was only like 10 rats. What's the guy crying about? Okay, never mind. We're not done. I don't remember the part where the kids bash rats with sticks for money, but I could be wrong about that as well. Rats, there we go. That's for completing the rat in the wall side quest. And we got $5, hell yeah. So with Joey's rat problem now dealt with, we get back onto our mission, as we still need to break into the library and steal the Russian translations book. But when we head below ground into the library storage, we find the place is an absolute maze, and we would need to complete a few puzzles if we want to find the books we're searching for. Oh my god, thank god, there it is. One Russian English dictionary, you love to see it. I never want to come back here again. But just as we're heading back to find Steve and Robin, someone shouts out for help from inside the flower store, as they have somehow managed to lock themselves inside the store's bathroom. The only issue is the store's worker has no idea where she left the spare key. And just like the hardware store, this place is completely overrun by evil rats. So we need to fight our way through the shop, leaving no rat unsmacked, until we finally find the key sitting on the floor of the store's office. There it is, Little Shop of Flowers. They gotta change it to Little Shop with no flowers, because we left nothing behind. So with another side mission out the way, it was time to finally head back to Steve and Robin, as they have also been trying to decode the messages we intercepted earlier. And with our Russian to English dictionary in hand, they can now start piecing it together much faster. But on the other side of town, Mike is having trouble with Hopper, as he is trying to set up the perfect date for Elle. The safest bet is ice cream, but I'm going rice cakes. I'm locking it in. Yeah, I was taking that L with whatever option, let's be honest. But just as things are starting to look up, Hopper makes up a story about our Nana being sick and kicks us out of his house, resulting in Elle being kind of pissed off at us for ditching her on the date. So together with Lucas's help, we come up with a plan to win Elle back. We need to buy Elle something cool, and I've learned from the ice cream incident, so I'm just gonna buy one of everything. I've no clue what she wants, but if I have them all, what could go wrong? Oh god, Elle's here, we're in deep shit. Wait, I can explain. I was getting a gift. Yeah, that's unfortunate. At least we got a trophy, but boyfriends do. You hate to see it. And speaking of things you hate to see, it's time for us to smash out another side quest. As to unlock the trophy Shack Sack, we would need to break into an abandoned electronics store and loot the whole place of its goodies. And I'll save you most of the pain I went through, but to unlock the trophy, we basically just had to turn a bunch of lights on and off again for 20 whole minutes until we finally reached a bunch of Russians guarding a computer. Oh my god, we found a wire spool. Hell yeah. Sucks to be this guy, but we got a wire spool now, so that's pretty cool. And that Shake Sack, that's for completing another side mission. These things are so bad. I'd rather more collectible trophies at this point. Let me find 100 gnomes instead of clicking a light on and off a million times. Now back onto the main quest line, we remember Nancy is still waiting for us down at Hawkins Post, where she's been currently working as an intern. But when we get there, she is absolutely swamped. Cut it out. There we go. That's for unlocking Nancy. fancy. She just called us here to make some sandwiches or something, but I guess it beats beating rats with a stick. But sandwiches aren't the only thing she's called us here for. She also needs help making coffees for everyone in the office. Yeah, I don't remember a single order. Not bad. I'll take a not bad. I guessed all that shit. And I got $3. Hell yeah. So with the coffees finally sorted, it was time for us to head back to the phones, where we get an interesting lead on something strange happening around Hawkins, as a woman named Doris has called in about a problem she's been dealing with down at Driscoll Farm. And you'll never guess what that problem is. Yeah, it's rats again. And it's not just a few rats either. So we need to find a photographer fast if we want to prove ourselves to the higher ups at Hawkins Post. Normal is boring. There we go. That's for unlocking old mate Jono. The only photographer here apparently, I guess. He'll do. But Doris's problems are gonna have to wait, as we have more important matters to deal with, like another side quest. Alright, before entering this building, I'm guessing I just have to kill some rats and click some buttons. Yeah, we got some rats in here, and we got a button. How could I ever have guessed that? This should be the final thing we need to steal for old mate out front. Yeah, there it is. What's in store? What's in store is absolutely nothing, because I rated that shit dry. And with that out the way, it's finally time to speak with Doris, as she tells us these strange rats have been wreaking havoc all over Driscoll Farm. And to make things a little weirder, they've also been eating all the fertilizers and cleaning products they can find. But when we head to the barn to investigate, things aren't looking too good, as one of the rats suddenly explodes, collapsing into a bowl of beefy goop. So we run back to the house to warn Miss Driscoll, but by the time we get there, it's already too late, as she's been infected by whatever's gotten into these rats. Oh shit, is this our first actual boss fight? And we have to beat an old woman? Take everything bad I said about this game. It's now worth the $500. There we go. The old woman is dead. Hawkins is saved. I have a feeling our boss isn't gonna like this one. We killed an old woman and we didn't take any photos of her. Why do we even need a photographer? Wait up, are you telling me we did all of that for no trophy? I take what I said back. This game sucks. Now back in Mike's basement, Will's still standing around waiting for people to play some Dungeons and Dragons with him. But the quickly growing party has much more important plans, as Max wants to cheer 11 up by throwing a slumber party for her. Mad Max, there we go. That's for unlocking Max, and she wants us to throw a slumber party for 11. But on our way, Granny Perkins calls out for help, as she needs a hand with her household chores. So we get to work on cleaning the front yard and making sure all of her photos are straight. But when we head down into the basement, something doesn't feel right, as we find a trail of blood directly below Granny Perkins' bedroom. So we rob the woman, unlocking our next trophy, Short Circuit, for successfully hacking the hardest level chest or door. Short Circuit, there we go. But when we make it back upstairs, it's already too late for Granny, as she's already been infected by whatever got to Miss Driscoll back at Driscoll's farm. That is Homebodies for completing all of Granny Perkins' chores. Kinda messed up. We robbed her for like $20 and then stole her shoes, but it is what it is. But on the other side of town, Jonathan is breaking the bad news to his mum that both him and Nancy have been fired from their jobs at the local newspaper. But she doesn't have time for our issues and is on a mission of her own, as something is messing with all the magnets in town. And she is convinced it all ties back to whatever's happening at Hawkins' lab. So we head over to Hopper's cabin, where we find Elle still waiting for this slumber party that Max promised her. And all we need to find is some rags and something to sleep on. I saw a sleeping bag in the woods. What do you mean we have to find a sleeping bag in the woods? There's up to 11 for unlocking 11. Who wants us to sleep on the ground? Good mate, that one. But Joyce is also here and on a mission of her own, as she's going to break into Hawkins' lab with or without Hopper. Finding chemistry, there we go. That's for having both Hopper and Joyce in our party. Now back onto that slumber party, Elle and Max head into the woods to track down the sleeping bag Elle spotted earlier in the day. But when we find it, there is blood absolutely everywhere. Though that doesn't really seem to matter, as we still have a slumber party to get back to. So we grab the filthy sleeping bag and head straight back to Hopper's cabin, where Elle wants to use her powers to spy on some of her friends, starting with Max's brother Billy. But when we enter the void, something feels off, as Billy isn't acting like his normal self and Elle thinks he might be in danger. So we hoon it back to Max's house to make sure Billy is okay. But when we get there, we find another lifeguard's belongings on the floor of Billy's bathroom, and they're completely covered covered in blood. And I won't lie, I kind of got distracted doing another side quest for Ivan mid-mission, where we managed to unlock a couple more trophies, the first being the trophy "Take a Look at Me Now" for crafting our 5th trinket. There we go, take a look at me now. That should make things a bit easier for us. With 5 trinkets, we should be able to smash this out now. And we also managed to unlock the trophy "An Honest Living" for collecting all of the things that Ivan was searching for. An honest living, there we go. It's another side mission done. But Heather's gonna have to wait a little longer, as on the other side of town, Joyce and Hopper are now breaking into Hawkins' lab, as they're hoping to find out what's been happening to all the magnets around town. But much to Joyce's disappointment, the place has been completely abandoned, and the only thing we managed to find are some zoning papers for the town's mall. Or so we thought, as out of nowhere, Hopper is jumped by an unknown man. But the man's identity is gonna have to wait, as we still need to work out what's going on with Billy. So we head back into the void, hoping to find some signs of Heather still being alive. But the place is completely overrun by rats. And to make things even worse, when we finally find Heather, things aren't looking too good for her, as she needs our help back at her house. Alright, so Heather was not totally fine, and that is chapter 3 complete. Hell yeah. So with all the strange shit surrounding Billy recently, it's time we finally go check on him ourselves. But when we make it back to the pool, things are even weirder than we ever could have imagined, as Billy finally reveals his true form. Here we go, boys. Flayed Billy boss fight. Oh my god, I'm getting my ass handed to me. I'm actually gonna die. I have no more health packs. Why did this shit just get weirdly hard? Oh my god, I actually died. That was my first death in this entire game. Oh my god, are you kidding me? I actually died again. How am I meant to kill this guy? I block and he still gets me, and then I die. If I dodge, he still gets me again and I die. Nothing makes sense. But if we want to eventually unlock the trophy Survivor, we are gonna need to get a lot better at this game, as not only will we need to beat the entire game one more time, but we also have to do it without any members of our party dying. But that is a problem for much later, as when we finally manage to stop Billy, the bloke somehow gets away. But Joyce and Hopper have even bigger problems, as they believe Mayor Klein might just be involved with all the ongoing trouble around Hawkins. So they head on over to the town hall to confront the guy, but when they get there, things don't look too good for the mayor, as the place is completely crawling with Russian goons. So after fighting our way through the endless amount of bad guys, we finally catch up to the corrupt mayor, as he lets slip that the Russians that attacked us are tied to a secret operation called Starcourt Industries, and they've just taken over Hess Farm and the local mall. But Dustin's at the mall right now, as Steve and Robin are getting close to cracking the transmission they intercepted earlier. But with Billy looking like he might be under the control of the Mind Flare, the group makes plans to regroup and come up with a way to stop this once and for all. But when we make it back to Mike's basement, Will is still crying about no one wanting to play Dungeons and Dragons with him. So fed up, he demands the boys track down their player manuals. So with a few of them missing, we're forced to search the suburbs high and low before he completely loses it. But when we finally make it back to Mike's basement, Will does a runner anyway, as he senses the Mind Flare might have actually returned. Will the Wise, that's for unlocking Old Mate Will. We must almost have all the characters now. Now fed up after the attack back at Hawkins' lab, Hopper and Joyce head straight for Hess Farm, hoping to sort these Russians out once and for all. But when we arrive, all we find is an empty farmhouse, or so we thought, as this farm is actually built on top of a massive secret underground tunnel system. Though for whatever reason, the power down here is a little bit shoddy. So before we stop the Russians, we first need to track down the source of these power surges, but instead we find something far more helpful. Oh hell yes, the guy from the show. Surely we don't actually get to play as this bloke. That would be so sick. So with Alexei now on our side, we fight our way out of the secret underground tunnels, as he might just be the key to finally stopping the Russians. The only issue is the bloke doesn't speak a word of English, so before we can get any answers, we'll need to track down someone who can translate for us. And lucky for Hawkins, we know exactly who to call. So while Joyce, Hopper, and Alexei go find our old pal Murray, Nancy and Jonathan are on their way to check on Miss Driscoll after their encounter back at the farm. Because if she's been flared just like Billy, it's probably not the best idea to keep her inside a hospital. But when we reach the top floor, it's already looking too late, as the entire ward is swarming with flayed patients. And to make things worse, our old bosses from the Hawkins post had come to investigate what happened to Miss Driscoll, and it's not looking too good for either of them. Here we go, boss fight number 3. The Mind Flare got Tom and Bruce, but they're still kind of dicks anyway, so who cares? And they can heal each other. Love that. Bro, how do I even do this shit? They just keep running back to each other and healing. This is so stupid. So after keeping the two apart for long enough, we finally managed to take them both down. But it's far from over as the two bodies fuse into one massive blob of flesh. So we need to run for the doors as fast as possible. 11's here to save us finally. We almost died, bro. Couldn't have come a little bit earlier. There it is. Pure nightmare fuel. That's for taking down Tom and Bruce. No clue what happened to Mr. Driscoll though. Sucks to be here, I guess. But if the Russians also own Starcourt Mall, there is a very high chance they're also hiding something important there. So while Hopper and Joyce track down Murray, the rest of the group make their way back to the mall to meet up with Steve and Robin, who have been keeping an eye on the loading docks. The only problem is the place is absolutely crawling with guards, so if we want in, we'll need to find another way. But lucky for us, we know somebody small enough to sneak in through the air vents, and all it will cost us is a lifetime of free ice cream. Ice cream for ice cream. There we go. That one's for unlocking Erica. I'm pretty sure that's all the important characters unlocked now. Now inside the Russian secret hideout, it's finally time to figure out what the hell they're doing in Hawkins. But things take a turn for the worst when both Steve and Robin get captured by the guards, shifting our priorities a little as we first need to save them both. The cool guy. There we go. That's for unlocking Steve. That should be every single character unlocked now. We just need to finish the game. But before we finish the game, there are still a few more side missions we need to complete. And with Erica now in the party, we can finally knock out the mission 30 minutes or less for gathering a bunch of questionable ingredients to make Anton a pizza. A fishy request for completing the mission 30 minutes or less. I'm 100% gonna die if we need this many meds. But on the other side of town, Joyce and Hopper have finally tracked down Murray, as he's been hiding out in a warehouse in the middle of nowhere. But if we want Murray's help, we would first need to survive his shed full of death traps. You two walked right into my trap. Kill room activate. I'm already like halfway through the timer. What am I even meant to do? Am I meant to click all the buttons or something? Oh my god, fuck this guy. I actually thought I was dead. He was just messing with us. An asshole. But when we finally make it out of Murray's basement, Alexei has already spilled the beans, as he tells us Mayor Klein has been taking bribes to let the Russians open a portal to the upside down underneath Starcourt Mall. At Rambo, that's for completing the Murray mission. Now we just need to stop the mayor and save Hawkins. But saving Hawkins is easier said than done, as the Mind Flayer still has control of Billy. So the safest place for us right now is back at Hopper's cabin, where using the Void we can try regroup and find out what Billy's up to. But that just might have been the Mind Flayer's plan all along, as now it knows exactly where we're hiding. So we'll need to gather enough wood to barricade the cabin fast, as the cabin's already swarming with beefy creatures. So we quickly head back inside, and just in time, as the Mind Flayer has finally tracked us down. Here we go, boys. The Mind Flayer is here. All we have to do is fix the window so the cabin doesn't fall apart. It's gonna be a bit hard with old mate here attacking us. This is sick though. God damn. There it is. The Mind Flayer is stopped. Well, for now at least. I have a feeling we're gonna see him pretty soon. And that's the bite for surviving the cabin ambush. So with the Mind Flayer weakened for now, we make our way towards Hawkins County Fair, hoping to find the mayor. But when we get there, the bloke escapes into the fun house. So we need to work on collecting 10 tickets to enter the attraction if we want to go after him. But just as we get enough tickets to enter, our new pal Alexei is gunned down by the mayor's goons. So we chase them through the maze, making sure to wipe out every goon we pass until we finally find what we're looking for. Oh my god, there's actually a gnome in here? No mercy, that is 25 gnomes. Unfortunate time to get a trophy though, just as old mate died. And gnomes aren't the only thing we're here for, as we have finally found the mayor. So if we want to have a word with the bloke, we would first need to get past Grigori and the rest of his goons. But as we are fighting them off, the mayor manages to slip away. So for now, we'll just have to settle on getting revenge for Alexei's death. So with the Russians now even closer to wiping out Hawkins for good, we need to meet up with Murray outside Starcourt Mall, as he is the only one who knows how to stop them from opening a gate to the upside down. But when we arrive, it's already too late, as the Mind Flayer has beaten us here. So all we can do is run for our lives, which conveniently enough also unlocks the trophy Welcome to Hell for just outrunning the thing. Welcome to Hell, there we go. That's for outrunning the Mind Flayer. Also, that is a very convenient place to put a drink machine. I reckon I might need a few more of these. But the fun isn't over just yet, as we still need to finish the Mind Flayer off for good. So using some conveniently placed cannons, we fire rockets at the big fella over and over and over again until he finally goes down. There it is, moving day. That's for taking down the Mind Flare and saving Hawkins. That's the story complete. Now we just have to do it all over again. So with the story now complete, it was time to go back through and collect the slot we missed along the way. And with us making sure to complete each of the 10 side quests during our first playthrough, we only really had one more trophy to collect, as we still needed to find the remaining 24 gnomes hiding all across Hawkins. So we made our way through all the locations again one more time, collecting each of the remaining missing gnomes in each area, until we finally found ourselves back at the Hawkins County Fair, where upon collecting our 50th gnome statue, we unlocked the trophy. Home gnome, there we go. That is every single gnome, and that means there is just one more trophy to collect. But to unlock our final trophy and platinum the Stranger Things video game, we still have to beat the entire game all over again, but this time on Eliminator mode. And what makes this mode even more brutal than our first playthrough is all 10 of our party members now have permadeath, so once they're gone for good. But by pairing Will's high range damage with Max's healing abilities, we're able to keep our distance and win fights much easier. And with our trinkets set up to boost Will's damage output as high as it can possibly go, we fight our way through the story one more time, where after taking down both the Russians and the Mind Flare, we finally save Hawkins for good. Oh my god, we have done it. Survivor. That's for beating the game on New Game Plus. And we also get beaten for platinuming Stranger Things 3, the video game. Thank you all so much for making it to the end of my most expensive platinum trophy ever. But if you want to watch me 100% the cheapest Spider-Man game you can currently buy, click the video on screen right now.